We're extremely comfortable.
We're chill. We're just chilling.
You would know. You're on TikTok. What's that called when people talk like
You are TikTok.
When they're like, they have their tiny microphone.
Yeah, what's that called?
I don't even know what it's
Whispering?
called. Whispering.
ASMR.
It's called
What the hell's
whispering.
ASMR?
I don't know. People are into it. Like, dude, it's a
They'll take a tiny
You okay?
microphone.
Yeah. I'm just, you guys do this all the time.
Anything else we can get you?
Shut up.
Oh,
Last look.
You got them. You finally
Do you
found
have
them.
a pillow? Yeah.
Dude, I love them.
Where'd you find them?
Online. And I need another pair because they're my favorite pants.
I love that.
So,
I love
see,
that.
you stepped up my game. He had these on Image of You.
Yeah.
And I love
Oh
them
yeah,
so
you
much.
do. Yeah.
And he was like, "Where'd you get those?"
I couldn't find them. They were all gone, and I had to like find a play. I just like searched and hunted, and they're so dope, dude.
They are. They're
What are
so
they?
comfy.
It's
They're
cool.
the
They're
best
just
They're
like
pants.
Jordan, like they're dope. They're
I was
really
at Nike one day, and I
I can sleep in them.
Yeah, they're comfy.
Yeah.
I was like, sweatpants I can wear to work. Done.
Yeah.
That's the new dream.
That's what I did.
Welcome. Another Happy Ride podcast. We got our friends here. You probably recognize one, but we got a new face. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Brent Geisler.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me.
You guys
I like
just-
this. Yeah.
It's like karaoke, or not karaoke. What do they do?
Poetry
that at?
night.
Poetry night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
In our
it.
comedy club.
Brent's
like it.
been in all of our lives for all of our lives, I feel like.
A long time.
Yeah.
Long
I
time.
basally birthed you.
Pretty much. You did. You were the doctor. And
Slap you on the
No, we've known Brent forever. Brent is a staple in the Utah film industry and somebody that I think a lot of people have learned from and looked up to. And you've brought a lot of people together. You introduced Charles and I. And yeah, started all those relationships. But yeah, introduce yourself, man. Who are you?
I'm so more interested in how I introduced you guys.
You don't remember?
No. There's been a lot of like stuff, and I have
a
a
lot of
bad
stuff.
memory.
Yeah.
It was about how many years ago? We figured this out yesterday.
Dude, we didn't figure out how long ago it was though. It was like
I was
What
like
was it,
10
though?
years old.
Oh, was it that? Was
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
was it the Boondocks one?
no, his sister's music video that we
Oh.
shot
At
at
the
their
house.
house.
He was there gripping it.
Okay.
And
There's a
Scooter was
photo
like
of
10.
Charles in my sister's room and like me, and Charles has like, he looks so young. And then I'm a little kid.
And we dunked the fish tank.
Yep.
With the
In the
God,
pool.
I think it was
In
a
the
red
pool.
camera too, like in the pool.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was an old red camera, and we dunked it in the pool in the fish tank.
Yeah.
That shot's so sick to
Dude.
this day.
It was definitely cut. All that stuff was cutting edge. The reverse with the balloons and everything.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was really cool.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
guys were doing
That was
some
that's when
crazy
you guys
stuff.
met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When,
That's
where
crazy.
do we have that video still?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
kicking around somewhere?
Yeah,
We'll-
yeah.
we'll-
It's awesome, dude. It's
Insert
so good.
here.
I love that video.
I want to
awesome.
see
Because we
it.
did that
That's cool.
video. We did that as a practice video. So we were already developing the bigger video, the one that we were going to shoot, the Boondocks one.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of had this idea that I wanted to warm your sister up. You know, I wanted to warm Angelique up. I wanted to get her ready for the camera. So I thought like we should do and I really liked that song, Boy Next Door. I really dug this song. It was just a cool song. And I thought, let's do a practice day. Like while we're doing wardrobe fittings and tests and all this stuff, like let's just do it at the Cooper residence and we'll just shoot this. Like we'll just do the whole thing at the house, but it'll be a good way to get her in front of the camera, kind of comfortable. So when we go to do the big video that we were like spending money on, it's not so foreign to her. Like that was the idea of just like do it as a practice thing.
I almost like the Boy Next Door
I
video
do too.
more than
Yeah,
the
it's-
Boondocks video.
Yeah, because it's really natural. It's really natural, and she's in her own element. She's on her bed, and she has that little dog.
yeah,
Ollie,
that's right.
Ollie,
Yeah.
he's still around.
Really? Like
Yeah.
the Ollie was a puppy. This is like the cutest little puppy you've ever seen. So we're like, well, get the dog in there.
Now he's like 16 years old, a snaggletooth, and
Yeah.
like we call him we call him Hugh Hefner, like
Yeah.
because he's like the little playboy.
There was this thing that came out after that too. And I think it was the "Call Me Maybe" song, but there was a song that came out by one of those artists that when you watch the video, it's so similar
It is
to the Boy Next Door.
very
video. Yeah, it's
similar,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, like too similar. Yeah, where they had a lot of money, and we did that video for like $5.
I kind of love projects like that where it's like there's the concept of what you do like as a beginning filmmaker, and then somehow something comes out there. Oliver Tree did that to a younger artist, and it just came out, and it's pretty spot on, like
That's cool.
scene for scene. But where did you
Interesting.
get started at in film? Was it Utah? Where did like the beginnings? Where did it all begin with you?
It was look. It was there from a very young age for me. It was when I was little. I always wanted to do film. I knew I always wanted to do film. There was no plan B. There wasn't like backup plan fireman, backup plan mailman. Like there was just movies. I just knew I wanted to make movies. So I was always making kind of stuff when I was really young. I remember that. I remember always having this drive to the point where I remember my dad got me a little like Super 8 camera, and I did things like, forced perspective, where I would get like one of my dinosaur toys and put it really close to the lens, and then have my sister running away and be chasing I would have the dinosaur here and be chasing it down the thing, or I'd get on my skateboard and I would attach a model. I would build like a model jet and attach it to the top of the skateboard, and then I would lay on my stomach on the skateboard with the camera here, and I would just fly down the street with this raggedy ass model airplane driving.
That's awesome.
And then I would get more creative to where I would start attaching firecrackers or smoke bombs to the models, and then I would tie a line from the roof of the house to the yard, but I would shoot it from behind, so all the smoke was coming to the camera. I was just doing weird shit like that, and it developed. And then I was also killing my friends all the time, where I got really into, I remember Fangoria magazine, and I got really into fake murdering my friends. I would just stick an arrow in them, break an arrow and stick it in their heart, and then put a bunch of ketchup, and then I'd just be lay down and be dead, and I would take photos. As a child, I would put Chinese stars in my friends' backs and arrows and stuff in my friends' back, and then I would just take photos of them. Which, when you look back to it, that's a really strange hobby. I think.
I
So you
love
didn't
it.
film
Honestly,
it, you took photos of
Yeah,
it.
only photos. I never filmed it.
So it was
only
forensic
photos.
crime scene. You could be like,
Yes, it was so weird because I look back, I still have the photos. I have to find them.
I like it because it's dark, but at the
awesome.
same time, it's artsy.
yes.
Right, because it was this learning special effects, right? Learning what you can do with your house. So we'd get a little piece of plywood or something and stick the Chinese star in it, and then get an old shirt and cut it, and then slide it under there and lay him perfectly, and then add all this blood, and he'd have blood coming out of his mouth, my friend Tony, and then I would just take these weird photos.
That reminds me of when I was a kid. We had, it wasn't a Super 8, but it was one of those flip video cameras, one of the first digital point and shoots, and we were into making little short films in the backyard, and we would take Gatorade caps, fill them with red Gatorade, and then put firecrackers in them.
Yes.
And we'd do shootout scenes where someone on the deck would get shot, and it was so obvious because you watch it back and the explosions in front of them, but there'd be red Gatorade, and they'd be "Ah."
Yeah.
And I feel you bring it back to that, that's the roots of where it kind of starts.
You collect everything at 4th of July. You get all the smoke bombs you can. Smoke bombs were great, remember? And they had all those colorful ones. You get a pack of 8, and there was blue and red and yellow, and they would last a minute, right? You'd light that thing, and you'd get a minute of cool orange smoke or something. And I was what can we do with this? This is fun. Burning the shit out of your hands, and just kids running around.
And
My dad eventually, we stepped up to a video camera to where you had to. It was this VHS. You had to put the VHS in the side of the camera, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you had to carry half the VCR with you. So there was the VCR part, and you had to pull that out and then put it in a bag, strap the bag around you. Oh, so the tape was in the thing.
Dude.
Yeah,
We
the
had
tape was in there.
thing.
And then you had this big old cable and this ginormous video camera.
Yep.
And then we just started shooting short films. This was junior high, high school. We started shooting short films, and I remember we would have to shoot. We'd have one tape that we could show our parents because they always wanted to see what did you guys film. But then we had another tape that was we couldn't show them because we would shoot like music videos. But back then, so this was 1988, 89, 90, right? So this was Two Live Crew just came out. We just started hearing cursing and music, right? We're this is awesome. And Two Live Crew is just saying things where we weren't even allowed to say, let alone listen to. So we would film music videos of these rated R rap songs, Two Live Crew songs, and we would just be in the front of the camera rapping and doing all these Two Live Crew songs, and really Slick Rick and songs with cursing. But that was a special tape that the parents couldn't see.
It's all
This
making sense to me now. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so funny because you guys are talking about how you did these murder scenes and gunshots, and I started with the VHS camera, the one you could hold on your shoulder, not the cord, but you put the VHS in, and mine was all ah, and you would magically come in, and someone would be standing there doing this to a little music video. I wasn't cool enough to do the gunshot
So
stuff
we had
until I got
murder
with my
scenes
brother.
and then we had beauty scenes.
It was like the beauty scenes
love
until
it.
I got with my brother. Then we did the fight
We did
stuff,
these
but-
little like. I remember but I think you're developing a style, or at least you're figuring out like really unique things to do at such a young age. So even in like 10th grade, it was such a simple idea. We did like a Friday the 13th movie, right? In 10th grade, right? And so,
love that.
and Jason was, of course, after my sister, because it was just like, you just grab your sister and whoever's around.
Like, here, let me murder you.
Yeah, I'm gonna murder you. But I remember had this scene where she was like ran and hid from Jason, and I took the hockey mask and I just put it over the lens of the camera. And I have this shot, and I was like, 14 years old or whatever, but I have this really cool shot where you're like seeing through the eyes of the hockey mask. And back then, the lens on these old video cameras, like you could really feel the white of the mask, and you're looking through the eyes. And it was just kind of this shot of like going down the hallway and like opening doors and looking for her. Eventually, like you go into the bathroom and the shower was on, and then she comes up from behind him and like hits him on the head, and he dies or whatever. And then at the same time, I had to do this shot. So we're up in Tehachapi Mountains at my dad's house. And I'm like, Dad, can I borrow the chainsaw? And he's like,
Sure.
nope. Yeah, he was not your dad. And he was like, nope. And I never thought about it. Like now, as I'm older, when you go to haunted houses, you realize that you could just take the
chain off.
chain off.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. Right. So I was like, I need the chainsaw. And my dad was like 100%. No. And I'm like, Dad, this is my art. Like, give me that chainsaw. And he goes, no, but I'll do the shot if you need me to do it. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I just need this. You just like fire that thing up, and I just need you to lunge at the camera. And he's like, great. And so he gets the mask. I was like, well, you got to put on Jason's clothes. Like what?
Yeah.
He's like, no, just roll the camera. And I was like, Dad, it's not going to match. Like you're in a members only jacket and a hockey mask. And I'm like, don't you care about my film? And so, yeah, so there's a shot in my little Friday the 13th movie with my dad in just like his street clothes and a hockey mask and a chainsaw, like lunging at the camera.
He had a quick wardrobe change.
Yeah, he would not put on the wardrobe.
I love it.
I think it's so cool how you came up with all of those like perspectives, the mask, and being so young too, and doing like the little dinosaur and the smoke bombs. Like I actually think that's really awesome and
Thank you.
very creative to come up with those shots with like, I don't know, so young. Like
Thank you.
Have you ever had
Meant
a
to be.
time where you had, say, something you did when you were younger and then implement it into like with the new technology and a crew and everything else to be able to accomplish something similar?
Yeah, I think there's
Or there's
yeah,
inspiration.
I think they come up all the time. There's always something. I think it's inside of you. I think this drive and this passion for film, I think you're born with it. I do, right? I think it's inside of you, and I think as you grow and learn, I think these pieces just surface more. I think like as you start planting the seeds, no matter what they are, I think it's always inside of us, this inspiration, and I think it's about finding a way to pull it out of you and then trust your instincts. I think we all deal with this kind of, I'm not good enough. I think we all as humans deal with this, like, I can't do that because you watch these films as a kid, you grow up and, I remember watching like E.T. and Goonies and Back to the Future, right?
Last
And so there's
Starfighter.
part of it, Last Starfighter. You think like, this is awesome, I want to do this, but then you go, oh, you're setting the standard so high. Like, how can I do that though? Like, I'm never going to be that good, so why even try, right? I think sometimes there's that, but I think when you go back to thinking about where you started and remembering where you came from and just the love for it and the passion for it, I had a stepmom. I had a few stepmoms, and this one I had this film back. You might remember, but there was this toy. They came back recently. It's called a goblin, and it's like a little creature. It looks like a gremlin kind of. It's a puppet, and they have these crazy eyes, and you can put your hand in it, and you can move the mouth, and it has these like dangly arms, but they're kind of gross. They have all these like pussy like warts on them. They're really just like an ugly little monster, but it's a hand puppet. So I had this idea of this I took my little brother who was like 7, and I took him to a graveyard, and I like had him like sitting at a grave, and I made a upside down like pentagram with ketchup, right? I literally was like, and here's the star. I didn't know what it meant. I was just like, and I know it's evil. Like, here's a star, here's a circle. And like Adam, this kid, poor little redhead kid, was sitting there, and he's like literally like 7 years old or something, right? I'm like, be there and be like you're sad or something. So he's praying or I don't know what he's doing. I have this cool wide shot of him at the cemetery, and then this over the shoulder. Like I don't know where these things came from, right?
Right.
And then I did this thing where I buried so then Adam gets up, like I think he wants to do a seance. That's what it was. He's trying to do a seance, and then he's like, oh, it didn't work, and he gets up and he goes home, right? Well, when he goes home, you come back to the thing, and I had buried this, like I buried my arm under the dirt, under the ketchup pentagram, and then slowly it starts to come out of the dirt, like, and it comes out, and then it kind of cuts, and then so he goes home, and now the creature is like in his house, and everywhere, every turn, like creature is trying to kill him. It's in the refrigerator, it's in the bathroom, it's everywhere, right? So it's like the best thing I ever made. And so so then my stepmom found this movie, and she was really religious and got more religious down the road, right? And she was like, this is evil. And she's telling my dad, she's like, your son is messed up in the head, and this is pure evil. And I don't have the tape because I think she destroyed the tape. I think it was one of these like destroyed the tape. Like,
Your dad's like, you think that's evil? Check out these photos he did.
I was gonna say I want to see these movies.
I know. I have a couple of them, but that's the one I'm like so bummed about.
It's kind of cool how you don't, when you're that young, you don't necessarily know the terminology of it, like a shot like over the shoulder and everything, but you're doing it because it naturally feels like that's what the film wants. And it's cool how you can see when people naturally have it and like know what to do with a camera, and they don't know what it's called. And it's cool to see how that can develop into someone who then goes and shoots big stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's cool.
Right.
We also, for our younger viewers, need to say what destroying the tape means, because like pulling the tape out. I knew what you meant. I'm just teasing. It was for
I liked it. I liked it.
Yes, I did the physical action,
like
right?
you did,
gotta take the tape.
You have to pull the tape.
You can pull the thing over and just like yank it out. And if you wanted to record over the VHS, you just had to put a little tape over the hole on the back, right?
Yes.
Like, we're starting fresh now.
Yep.
Yeah. Instead of just hitting like delete or erase, you have to like physically pull it out.
Exactly.
Film nerds.
Yeah.
She's taking stabs at me over there.
I was a little bit.
It's because it's not even film. It's VHS.
VHS.
Like,
You had to twist it to like,
it's
if
always
you wanted
pick on Scooter in the podcast. So
We didn't pick on you last time,
Oh yeah, you did.
did we?
You and Chonky.
No, with Hunter.
No, that was a good one.
Yeah.
We have to literally.
You had one day.
Yeah, I get one day
One
off.
free.
Yeah,
One for
one
we're
free
back.
day.
one.
I would love to know what was one of the first films you worked on. Like,
that's a great
I
question.
mean, I heard all these first films, like, because those.
Wait,
all
I
count,
think we've
but-
kind of jumped around too. I do want to know that, but who are you and what do you do?
Oh yeah.
Who
Like,
am I and what do I
what's
do?
your job title on set?
Right, currently, I pay the bills as a first AD. I'm in the DGA, the Directors Guild of America. I pay the bills as a first AD. I've been in the DGA since 2005, so next year will be my 20th anniversary in the in the guild, which was huge.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I also am working as a director now, so I got to direct a couple big episodes for Disney Plus. I got to direct an Andy Mack episode. I got to direct a High School Musical episode. That's its own history there.
We were there for that, which is really cool.
And then I'm up for directing. So I'm working on a film with Travis Pastrana right now, and I'll be directing that with Travis.
Sick.
You've been doing some
And,
writing.
Yeah, we've been writing together, and then I just got offered another film to direct. So there's some stuff in the fire. That's the passion, is directing, but it's definitely it's not something that comes up as much as firsting or just, working in the business to support yourself and make a living and
Totally.
raise kids and have a house, or anything like
Life.
I think
Yeah,
so.
live. Yeah,
I-
was
I
directing
do
the
wanna-
dream, like from
Directing is
little.
always the dream,
Always
yeah.
the dream.
Yep.
The angle. I do want to know what the first film you started out on, and with that, I think what would be important for some of the viewers as kids are getting into the film industry, or people are maybe in college, or where do I start? I want to say, and maybe I'm answering this for you, but I want to say you're like the epitome of the golden example of someone who works their freaking ass off and literally grinded every position of the ladder to get where you're at. And I want to just attest to that and say that it can be done. You're the example of it. From literally being a PA on High School Musical to directing an episode of High School Musical. Like, that's the dream right there. What in that journey, being the first film you worked on, all that, what was, like, obviously there's head games and things that tell you, like, you can't do this, kind of what you're talking about, but what was that journey like, and how long did that journey take you? And were there times where you, like, doubted yourself along that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, for sure. So although I wanted to do it forever, and even my uncle worked at like Paramount Studios and 20th Century Fox, so as a kid I got to visit these studios and like remember like that's the dream. Like I got to walk around, I got to sit on the set of Family Ties and sit on the couch. Like this was the main couch of Family Ties. I would just sit there and talk to the cast, and Michael J. Fox was there, and I got to be on the set of Moonlighting with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Sybil Shepherd.
So you got a taste.
I got a taste really young. I got to go to the back lot and eat in the commissary, and it was really cool. So I had a taste for it young. I always wanted to do it. It was hard to start though. When I was in California, I probably turned 21. I was living in California, graduated high school. It wasn't something that came to me early, and I wasn't making like short films like what we've been doing through the years. You know, I was working in a record store, and eventually when I came to Utah, I kind of found this zone. I felt the drive was stronger as I was leaving Hollywood. Like I was leaving LA, and as I was getting further and further away from LA, I thought, like, I felt like I was giving up my dreams. I felt like I was coming to Utah for a reason, like to start a family, and, you know, and so but I remember feeling like I was getting further away from this dream I had. So when I got here, I kind of felt like I really needed to find my zone if there was any kind of film happening in Utah. And so I did. I met somebody randomly. I met two people that worked on Touched by an Angel. So this was probably like 1998. Like my son was born, Brendan was born in 98. And at that time I was probably 25. So I started late in the game. Like I was a 28-year-old PA, which was rare, right? Like it took me a long time to get there. But I met somebody that worked on Touched by an Angel. And I just asked, like, I was like really interested in getting in there. And she was like, it was a transpo driver. Okay. And she actually recommended going in as just like an extra and just getting a feel of the set and what positions they were. Right. At the same time, there was like a short film that was, being filmed up at this, like, like a pool up in like, Big Cottonwood up there, kind of by like Porcupine, right? There was a little short film shooting there, and I called them, and they were like, they didn't have any money, right? It was actually Jason Painter. Jason Painter was producing this 1 day shoot, and I didn't know Jason, but Jason Painter gave me my first job really, because I called him and I was like, hey, I heard you're shooting a short film. Are you looking for any help? And of course, Jason's like, yeah, we don't have any money. I was like, I don't care. Like, I just want to help and learn. He's like, shit, you're going to work for free? Come on over. Which is a great way to start, right? Just offer your free time, as in like, I'm going to donate my time to learn a little bit something. So when I am paid, I have a little bit more experience, right? So this one day I spent on this set, I met the guy that was running the set. He was an AD, and his name was Dutch. And he worked on Touched by an Angel. And so I did that day, and then I want to say like it was a month later that I go in and I work as an extra on Touched by an Angel, and it was awful. I hated. I was like, it was so weird, and I was cringy. And I remember sitting on the floor, and they had just the bad table of snacks, and I was like, this is not good. And I wasn't getting picked for, like, the ADs would come in and they were like, you come with me, or like, we need 10 of you, and I never got picked.
You're the last guy sitting there.
Yeah, I was just like, so. I think it was like $75 a day or something like that, right? And at some point, like by the time lunch came around, I was like, screw this. I'm out of here. This is not worth $75 anymore. It was just weird. And we were shooting at the Wells Fargo building downtown. I remember that. So anyways, I'm going to sneak out. Like, I'm like, it's okay. I'm just going to rip up my paperwork, and I'm going to sneak out of here. I'm just going to go home, and I'm going to cry. right? I'm just going to cry myself to sleep. As I'm leaving the door, Dutch was like, this guy that I met on this 1 day short film with Jason was standing at the door, and he was like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I was an extra, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "Oh, you should have said hi." I was like, "I didn't see you." And he goes, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Well, because I'm here because I really actually want to work on the crew, but I didn't know how to get in." And I was like, and I even brought my resume as I like unfolded it, right? And it had no film on it. It was like, "Oh, you worked for the Warehouse Entertainment and Tom Tom Music," and all these things that were not relevant to the film business. But I pulled it out, unfolded. I was like, "I have a resume, has my phone number on it." And he literally goes, "Hold on." And he goes away. He goes, "Don't leave." And I was like, "All right." And he goes and talks to the first. It was just one of those, they say, like, right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. They had lost a PA. They were there for the whole week. They had a whole shoot to do. They had lost a PA. They were looking for a PA and calling people and not being able to fill the position. So the next thing you know, the first AD comes up to me and she like looks at my crappy resume and I'm an adult man by now, right? Too. Probably full on beard. And so she goes, she's like, are you available to work like tomorrow? And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Are you available to work for the rest of the week?" And this was like Monday. And I go, "Yeah." And so she put me on for 4 days. She was like, I can use you tomorrow, Tuesday through Friday as a PA. I was like, "Great." And so I jumped in like that. I was so excited, man. I was like, I got to be on lockups and I got to yell like, "Rolling." And I was like, "This is the best." And so I kind of learned everything from that. And I remember being afraid to ask questions. I remember I felt like I needed to know everything. So there was this one day that I had to, one of the main actresses was doing something and they go, "Hey, Della Reese is 10-1. I need you to go stand by for her and walk her back to set." And I was like, "Okay, great." And I walked away and I was like, "What does 10-1 mean?" Right? But instead, like, I wish like people just ask questions. I wish I would have just said, "What's 10-1?" Because what are they going to do? Like at the time I felt like, I don't want to seem stupid. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I didn't know what I'm doing. It was very obvious. So I was like, how many things could it mean? She's probably arriving in a van, right? That makes sense to me. Like, I got to go pick her up from somewhere. So she's probably coming so I go to where the van drop was and I'm standing there. And they're like, "Hey, does anybody have Della? Blah, blah, blah." And I was like on my radio, barely knowing how to use it. "Oh, she's not here yet," or whatever. And of course I'm out there on the lot and she comes down the escalator because she was just going to the bathroom,
right?
And like passes me up and she's on set and they're like, "Brent, what are you doing?" I was like, and so I learned 10-1 the very hard way. Like, just ask the questions,
just communicate.
But that led to like Touch by an Angel. I did 4 days on there, and I remember the last day I'm signing out all the background, or I'm there with the background helping I wasn't necessarily signing them out, but I was there helping them get done for the day. And I met someone who led me to Terry, actually, Terry Pappas. I met Terry, or somebody was there, Gail, Terry, but I was really excited to be there, and so I was really having a really good time setting background, and I was so enthusiastic that they were like, "Who's this, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed adult man PA?" But they were like, "You're really good. Like, we should do more stuff." So I'm like, I'm down. Like, let's do it. And so they sent me. They sent me to Peggy Stuber. So Terry and Peggy have been friends for a long time, but somehow Terry was like, "My friend Peggy Stuber is shooting a commercial. You should call her." And so I called Peggy Stuber, who was my friend to this day, who eventually later on in life gave me my very first DGA job on I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which was part 3 of the horror series with the fisherman. But I went and did a commercial right away. I went and did a commercial for Peggy, and I kicked ass on this commercial, and she really liked me, and I learned a lot on that commercial, and that led to I was doing something like they were doing a shot where they were trying to get this kid. They had a really like a micro lens shot like on this kid's eye, and they were trying to get this perfect, like a 5-year-old kid to do this thing with his hand, right? And I'm sitting there like watching them like fumble through this shot for so long, and I was like, can't, and I like whispered to Peggy actually, and I was like, "Can't you just have them close it, and then can't you just reverse the shot and then post, right?" And she looks at me and she goes to the director, she's like, "Hey, just do this thing, get it perfect, and then just have him open it, and then whatever it was doing, right?" And she kind of looked at me like, "Who the hell are you?" Right? And I was like, "Hi, I'm Brent Geisler." And then so she's like, so I was on a lockup all day, like out in the middle of nowhere. And she's like, I need you to stay on set. You're on set now. You stay by the director. And I was just always trying to get shit done, right?
Yeah.
So by the end of that show, Peggy goes, go talk to Jenny Chapman in Don Shane's office, the Salty Pictures Don Shane office. And that changed everything. So I go in, I talk to Jenny Chapman. I meet Don Shane for the first time, and, you know, rest in peace, Don Shane. Like, I did 20 movies with Don Shane by the end of the day, but he taught me a lot. And Don was like old school, you know, like old school Jewish movie producer, smoked in his trailer, and but I loved it. I did my first big shows with Don, and it was like Matias Alvarez was my, you know, basically taught me a lot. He was the first AD at the time, Miriam Footer, Christopher Barnes was around. And so I was just a PA. So they had that whole thing running. They were doing all the old DCOMs, like the Disney Channel original movies. For years, they had that. They cornered the market in these films. And that's how I started. So I went as a PA, and I worked on, the first movie I worked on was called Poof Point. And I was only a day player on that movie. They're like, we can only give you 6 days. And I'm like, I got 6 days on a Disney Channel movie. You're going to pay me $150 a day? Let's go. Right? And so I did that, and I kicked ass on that. And so by the next film, they hired me as a full-time PA. I got a full-time PA job on a movie called Right on Track. And looking back on Right on Track, was a 10-year-old actress by the name of Brie Larson, who is now like, you know, like Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, right? Like, huge, like amazing. But I worked with Brie when she was 10 years old, and I remember, and we shot out at the racetrack. It was like a true story about these two young girl drag racers, right? And we shot out at like way out at the racetrack, Rocky Mountain Raceway. That was my first full-time job, like as a PA, 25 days. And back then, my film school was these DCOMs it was kind of the perfect way to make a film. It was 5-day weeks. So you had 25 days, 5-day weeks. It was Monday through Friday. Don Shane would never shoot a Saturday unless he absolutely had to. You're working Monday through Friday, 5-day weeks, and you're shooting on 35 millimeter film. So that was my film. My film school was 35 millimeter film, 25 days, probably like $4 or $5 million budget, something like that, right? And I ended up doing like 20 of those, like for years and years and years. That was my film school. As I stuck with Don, it was called the Don Shane train, and I stayed on that train for as long as I could, and I just came up the ranks, right? It was like PA. I PA'd for years and years and years, probably 5 years, right? And I think that's what it is like I really did climb that ladder of like, I did all my PA days, and then I started as a non-union second or a non-union second, and then I got enough days to join the guild, and that kind of just led through years and years and years of, you know, doing that.
I think doing it that way too, like no one can argue that. Like as soon as you come into like a episode and you're directing on High School Musical, everyone like almost like lays out the carpet for you, like you earned it kind of thing. And
yeah, I felt that for sure.
Yeah, I mean I saw it from what little I saw on that, and it was like people respected. They're like, this man has put in the time.
Yeah, that was the best feeling for sure. I feel like that crew, like the production design team, like Connor Jensen and Jason Haas, and even location, everybody, like so many people came up to me on my High School Musical episode and stopped me one day on my last day there. We were shooting at the convention center, which they turned into this airport for me, which is beautiful. And people I've interviewed for directing jobs, and people asked like, how did you shoot an airport? And I was like, I didn't. I have a badass production design team that made the convention center look like an airport. And I was like, but it came from years of working together where like, yeah, they know you earned it and they're proud of you. And it's such a family here in Utah that they really showed up for me. Like I owe them so much because they absolutely crushed it, and they were happy to do it. And they all stopped me kind of on this, my last day I'm walking in, my last day as a director, I'm at the place. And I remember slowly it was like, you know, like Al Stoddard came up and Clay, and there's a handful of people, Grip, Electric, everybody was there, and they kind of stopped me, and they were just like, they said, they were like, we're so proud of you. We just want to tell you we're so proud of you. And I was like getting all emotional and teary. I was like, guys, let me get through my day. You know? But yeah, I felt that for sure. I felt like coming up through the ranks that way and earning it, right? Like really earning it. And And it ebbs and flows. Like I think when you start, you feel this need to prove that you deserve to be there. So I think we all start out a little cocky sometimes, or you just got to find your way to how to treat your crew and respect your crew and give everybody the time that they deserve. But it takes a while. It doesn't always come naturally. For me, it didn't. I just kind of learned through the years.
That's awesome.
I actually miss those days of like when you first start out and you're on set and they're like, yeah, go get this. And you're like, okay, I don't know what it is, but let's go.
Yeah.
You know, like that whole like learning and growing. Now you walk on set and you're just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go to work. You know?
I love being on set though, and I'm dying to get back on set. Like, and you know, I it's been over 20 years in the business, and it takes a toll on you for sure, right? Like if you have families or whatever you're doing, it does take a toll. But I'm at a point now where it's been so slow lately, and I think between COVID and then between the strike, like now I'm like itching to be on set. Like I can't wait to be back on a set, and I think I've earned like a different respect for it as well, of how fortunate we are to get to do this for a living, right? I think it's a privilege, I think, to work in movies and television. And so for me, I'm like dying. I'm like so excited to get back there and do it. And I think when you miss it and you don't feel as burned out or beaten down from the business, like you just do a better job, right? I'm excited to get back up there and go like, what can I do better still? Like, how can I be smoother with my communication? How can I run a better set? Like I'm still always pushing to how can I grow? Can
I just say too, the last project we all worked on was the first project we were all on together. We did one movie previously together, and I'm sure you two have been on set together a handful of times. But the last movie we did was the first time where I got to like, because I grew up with you, and then I learned from you, and then it was like all the pieces came together. When we were on set, it was like, oh shit, there's Brent, there's Chara. It was like really cool to like see it all like happening and be like, wait, I'm in it. Like I'm with these guys. I'm on set. I'm making a movie with the guys that I looked up to like be on set with. It was like one of those like pinch me, is it real kind of scenarios. It was
Which
cool.
one was that one?
Can we say it?
Yeah.
Or can we say
What's the name
can
of
we
it?
say?
The Image of You.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Which I've heard turned out really great, actually.
From what we shot, it looked incredible
Yeah.
shooting it. Sometimes, like, through the process, you're like, I hope it comes together. But, like, that movie looked cool.
Yeah.
From everything.
I remember coming on the set every day and seeing you. And I think I told you every day and hugged you every day how I was just so proud. It was just like, there's like there's a proud kind of fatherly moment, right? Where you're like, yes, like Scooter is like, you know, first AC, and he's like, pulling focus on a movie, like on a good movie.
Big movie, yeah.
Yeah, and Sasha Patirse is incredible, like the sweetest, most professional, most amazing actor. I love that girl. She
so
killed
nice.
it.
It was so hilarious.
She made that movie
Mur
awesome.
didn't know who she was when we were at your house. We were having like a little barbecue, and Mur didn't know like who she was in person, but is obsessed with like all the shows she's in.
Yeah.
Obsessed with her, like in the shows, obviously. And so they have like hours of conversation.
Yeah.
It was a great night.
She's the coolest.
And then we get in the car, and I was like, you know who that was, right? She was like, who? And as soon as I said like Pretty Little and she was like, are you serious? And she's like freaking out. She's like, I feel so dumb. I didn't even mention it. And I was like, it's probably better. Like,
Yeah,
you
for
had
sure.
it
Yeah.
very natural, just like person to person. And like, I think at the end of the day, that's something that like we all get so used to. It's the starstruck and everything kind of goes away. And it's just like,
Yeah, for sure.
You're just friends with people
Yeah.
on set. You're all at work.
But you do appreciate when you do see a really human side of somebody, right? Like, I mean, we're all going to have our days on set, right? And some people are just more personal than others, no matter what department you're on, actor or camera or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you just get along with certain people. But there is something about when you do meet somebody at such a high caliber that has, 20 million followers or whatever it is, that is just really down to earth and really cool and just easy to talk to, and we'll just come to your house for your birthday party, right?
And
Like,
chill,
yeah, and just chill.
Yeah, that's cool. I love people like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I will say it was a pretty freaking awesome experience
It
being on
was.
set on High School Musical when you got to direct. And
yeah.
were you there?
I was there for Andy Mack, but I
Oh,
don't know.
nice.
I don't think I was there when it was the High School Musical one.
Well, let's
But
talk about that. What'd you do on Andy Mack?
What did I do?
Yeah.
That was when I was doing makeup.
Ooh.
Doing makeup. I don't do it anymore. But
Okay.
I did do
I didn't know
makeup
you
on
did
it.
makeup on Andy Mack.
I did.
That's cool.
And it was in season 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I came in on season 2, but not as often. And then I was
Yeah.
full time on season 3. And
That was
so
fun.
I was there.
Andy Mack was fun.
Andy
It was
Mack
a fun
was
show.
fun.
What was it like watching Brent direct versus being a PA?
It, like, honestly, and I remember the energy that, like, during that episode was so hype and so excited, and everyone was so happy for you that, like, there was just good vibes all around. Honestly, like, it was good days on set. Those days, like, we were
Yeah, we had
so
fun.
happy to be there. And
Like, it's fun seeing your friends like achieve,
Yeah.
you know, like step up and
Yeah.
like do the things that they want to do, you know, like it's rad.
it
Yeah,
really
thanks.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's cool is Andy Mack I love. That was one of my I just 3 seasons on that show. That was a family. That's the core family we built, at least for me at that point in my life. Like I was firsting that show, and with, you know, Troy Rahovitz, it was Troy and I, and that was the first like real family that I felt, other than, you know, like the Don Shane family for sure. But
Yeah.
this was one I felt really close to, and we had you know, Jeff Miller and Greg Hampson were producing, and they're so great, and Michelle Manning, and that crew just came together, and the cast was so awesome. Like everybody really got along. We all enjoyed coming to work, and the days weren't long, you know, since it was mostly like kid hours, we were working like 9 to 5, you know.
Loved it.
Like it was
Loved
awesome.
those days.
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
And then
I
that
want
was
one of those.
that was such a good experience. And the cool thing was, you know, we had Asher Angel, and so I got to direct Asher. You know, I got to direct Sophia Wiley on that show, and I got to direct Asher Angel on that show, who went on to do Shazam, to be Shazam, right? And then when High School Musical came around, we really took the Andy Mack crew, basically, and that well-oiled machine, and then just put it onto High School Musical, which
Yeah.
I think was a huge part of the success of the series High School Musical. Like they got this well-oiled machine, and we're like, okay, now let's do a bigger show with musical numbers. So when my episode came around, which was in season 2, had a guest star role, and they ended up giving it to Asher Angel. So it was so cool to have it. And I got to direct scenes with Asher and Sophia, who had both done scenes in my Andy Mack episode together, and who were friends on Andy Mack, and to see them go through their careers, and Asher go off to do, you know, Shazam and his singing career and stuff, and then to have him come back to High School Musical and be so cool, and to be able to direct those two. The chance I got to direct the same 2 kids that I got to direct on my first episode feels pretty, you know, kismet. Like
Yeah,
that's
it does.
pretty rad.
Yeah.
pretty rad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it takes the pressure off too, because I have this relationship with Asher already, and Sophia, and that cast from being with them through the whole season. So that makes it easier, I think, going into a familiar territory, which I have yet to go direct something where I had never met the cast and I didn't know the cast. So that's a challenge I'm looking forward to, is going to direct on a Netflix show or something else, to where I'm coming in cold, like as a guest director, and meeting a crew for the first time, and meeting a cast for the first time, right? It's like
trusting your DP.
exactly.
And
Yeah. That's a whole nother story that I'm excited to, you know, that I'm excited for that chapter.
Yeah, that's interesting, because
That is,
we are so like tight knit here in Utah, and like you pretty much can walk onto any set and know everybody.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Very rare. Yeah, you walk on set and you're like, who's that guy? Because you know everyone. You're like, what's that person doing here?
Yeah.
Like, it is when you're experiencing these like new sets. I always say the first day of set is like the first day of school, where you're all just kind of like
For sure.
figuring out what's happening the first day. But once you get past that first day of school, then it's like, you know, we're like, where's my classes and who are my friends?
Who
And
am I sitting with at lunch?
Who do I sit with at lunch?
Yeah, it's a thing, you know.
But it really was with Andy Mack, like that little family, and that carried over into High School Musical. So sometimes they blend together for me, because like it was everybody kind of doing the same things.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
they were such good times.
I love that you were there. That's great.
Yeah, that was so fun.
That was so fun.
That was so fun.
And then
I
what
was so
did you do
excited.
on Andy Mack? You grip?
I was gripping,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and on high school gripping.
The grip days for
Throw 'em
Charlie.
down.
Wow.
Yep.
And then you've seen Charlie go from gripping to freaking DPing and Trinity operating and everything
Yeah.
else.
All that Steadicam stuff is amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
That's
Yes.
great. Yeah.
That's fun.
I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I love this. I love this whole thing that you guys are building. It's really awesome.
I mean,
Thanks. We're trying.
Charlie
Yeah,
and
it's great.
I mean, yeah, we came together and we started noticing just through like the fun little small talks you have on set that we're like very like-minded in the things that we wanted out of our careers and out of, call it, a company. But really that just happened naturally. Like Happy Rabbit technically has been built for years as Charles and I have been working together, but it just naturally kind of came into like Happy Rabbit, and then we're like, hey, let's put a name on it and like start doing this, and this all just kind of came naturally. But it's cool because we found that like I've never met someone as into film, probably besides you, weirdly enough, but like never met someone as obsessed with filmmaking than I have Charles, in the sense that I can call him at 4 a.m. and be like, with this piece of gear, have you learned this? And he's like, dude, I'm on Google right now looking at it. It's like,
He's not wrong.
it's true, right?
It's true.
So it's cool to like have someone like that and like build something with that, because you know, like as much as I'm putting in, he's putting in on the off time too.
That's cool.
So
I love that.
well, freaking thank you for coming today
Yeah,
and
of
talking
course.
with us, and
Yeah.
we're trying to get this like more normal. We want you to come on
That's great. This is
monthly
awesome.
if you can.
Yeah, let's
and
just hang out.
Yeah.
talk about
This is
things
awesome.
we're up
That's
to.
the plan.
and
Yeah.
things coming forward.
Yeah, let's get busy. Let's get back to work. Let's get on a set.
Is there
Let's
anything
do
you
it.
can
Go.
tell us now that you have coming up that people can look forward to, or anything coming out? I mean,
I
Image
wish
of
I
You,
did.
Image of You's coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, when?
Usually they're like, you can stockpile them, and like there's always like things to look forward to.
Something,
But it's
yeah.
been so weird lately, right?
Is IATSE going on strike? Like, what's going on with that?
I don't know. I'm not gonna
Is
say
there-
anything, but
there's
I
some
keep
weird-
hearing stuff.
There's weird
We
crap
hear
happening
rumors.
right
it's a
now.
There's
weird.
like-
It's a
yeah.
weird time.
Another
Yeah.
strike.
It's a weird.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, there's
it's a weird
rumors
time.
of
Yeah,
it.
but the Image of You will come out hopefully this year. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to be, I think it's a good time to be independent right now and start using this time to build your own companies and start making your own stuff. Like, right? Like the technology now, like, I mean, you can go make something rad on your iPhone, honestly, right? Well, like, same thing with music, right? We have the access to it now that we didn't have 20 years ago. And so there's really no excuse. It's kind of like you can just go out and start making your own stuff.
It's true.
Start
And
practicing.
now's the
That's
time.
true.
Now's the time
there's
to
a
do
lack
it.
of content. That
Exactly.
Studios are demanding stuff, and so
Yeah.
it's like, if you got something, it's a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Best
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, well,
Cool.
we'll see you on the next podcast.
All right,
and,
buddy.
we look forward to it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime.
Thanks.
See you guys in the
Yeah.
next one.
We say bye.
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 That was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was a